Hello, welcome back to the ministry, and I got the other song for you. I mentioned in my previous word that I was going to do Love You Better by LL Cool J. Anybody remember this from way back in the day? When LL Cool J came out with Love You Better and was talking about a man that took advantage of the person that he was with and didn't realize the strength of the relationship that he had with this individual and mishandled it and then came to the realization. For some of y'all that need to do reconciliation with your partner, they have come to the realization of the stupidity of which they were operating under, and they are coming back to right their wrongs. So it starts with him saying, "This is for the number one. You are their number one pick. Number one." They've come to the realization, you it. That's it. Nobody's better than you. The person that they adore. This is hard to say. Why is it hard to say? Because they know that they was wrong for whatever they said, did, or how they acted towards you. I'm talking about whether they met you or they didn't meet you. But when God was putting you in front of their face, they probably was talking about you in so many wrong ways. And because God don't play about you, they was feeling the judgment on their behind because they talked about you and didn't realize who they was talking about. I remember recently I was looking at something that Tiffany Montgomery was talking about, that even as a Christian, she thought she knew and could recognize and judge people righteously by the appearance of who she thought they were. And the Lord put her through a season where he had her trying to judge the people, and every person that she thought, because of whether how they looked or acted, was not Christian, was Christian, and vice versa. So she came to the realization, I'm not going to judge nobody by anything no more. I'm going to ask God. Some of these men, because of an appearance of how you looked, because God made you look unattractive, you, especially when God brought you in front of them, maybe you look like this. Maybe you look like you were in your basic. And they were like, "But I date the baddies. What you talking about? I don't date Aunt Mama. What you talking about?" And they were like, they didn't see it. So they had to apologize to God for misjudging you. Because it's not that you can't dress up. When I'm on my good looks, hair, nails, lipstick, hair done, makeup, everything, I look like a whole different person. But God's had me in a season where I haven't been able to do my whole do. Because I believe that he's allowed you to be in that season because he needed these men to see you for your heart, not for how you looked. Because if they were looking at you for how you looked, they would have completely missed your heart. They needed them to get accustomed to seeing your heart first and recognizing your heart. Then he was going to have the upgrade done. So, because of that, what did he say? This is all for me to say. So, I want to make sure I go about this in the right way. Some of these men, the reason it's taking so long is they've really been in planning seasons with the Lord, because they got to go about how they approach you properly. Because of how they acted, how they treat you, all that type of stuff, they got to go about it properly, in the right way, right manner. Because lately, I've been busy a lot. Some of them, their career, they were married to. Think about it like this. For those of y'all that are walking in purpose, because I believe there are some of y'all that are walking in purpose. If you've been focusing on God's work, you ain't been paying attention to this man like that. Let me explain something to you. I come here and talk about these words. I leave these words where I leave them, and I go back and work on what God gave me to work on. I ain't sitting up here pining over this man all day long. I say what I got to say, and I keep going. I ain't got time for it. God gave me an assignment. And I have the fullness of understanding that the more I work on my assignment, it's going to pull whatever needs to come into my atmosphere to me because of the fact that I'm headed in the right direction. So because of that, I work on the grind that God has given me in the season that I have been set before. That stuff gonna come to me. He gonna come to me. The stuff gonna come to me. The money gonna come to me. But if I'm not working, if I sit still and sit and say, "Oh, I'm not pining over this man because he's not here," everything's gonna stop moving, including him. Why? Because I'm not moving. Think of God. God is the top. Your husband's on one side. You on the other side. The more you move towards what God needs for you to work on and elevate higher towards Him and what you're doing, prayer, all that kind of stuff, this is going to bring that man up higher with Him as well. And it's going to be like you're going up both sides of the mountain. I did a ram in the bush word twice, which therefore is going to bring you together in the in-between down here slowly, but you got to be doing the work. So he's been busy doing his stuff, thinking he was going in the right direction, and it made you feel like you were being not appreciated. And it's not that you weren't being appreciated. Prophetic Diary does do the word say, God, your God-ordained spouse is not rejecting you. Your spouse is not rejecting you. He's not rejecting you. He's just been preparing, planning, and doing his part of the assignment. I remember I had a dream not too long ago. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably been about a year now. I had a dream that one night, it was nighttime, I'm fussing, I'm complaining, I'm irritated. And he seen me fussing and complaining and irritated, wondering why I'm fussing, complaining, and irritated. And I actually was wondering the same thing. Why am I fussing, complaining, and irritated in this dream? And at the end of the dream, it had looked throughout the dream like he was just chilling, relaxing. He was laying down. He was in the bed. He was just resting. He was just doing him. And there were certain scenarios that came up. But at the end of it, it was an assignment that he was trying to complete. That as the dawn broke, the assignment was coming to completion. He had an assignment he needed to complete. He couldn't pay attention to you. Some of y'all was paying way too daggone much attention to this man and what he doing instead of paying attention to the assignment that you supposed to be doing. So that as you finish your assignment, what I say, the two of you going to come closer and closer together. But if you're not doing what God needs you to do in obedience, and he going to be stuck over here, and you going to be stuck over here. As he moves towards his assignment, he's moving up. You sitting up there like, where he at? Why he going? Why ain't he paying up? You stuck over here. As you go, the two of you going to come together. If you're not moving, what are you going to do? He not going to move until you move. You move, he move. If he's moving and you're not moving, guess what? You're not going to get any closer to each other. You better be running on God's assignment, because that's the only way you're going to get it. You see what I'm saying? And he was also being pruned, pressed, and all that kind of stuff. And because you were moving so fast, some of them had to catch up with you spiritually because you was running. Okay. And a lot of you, and I know that you don't feel appreciated and whatnot. I used to tell you that your hair looked fly. Kiss you slow and stare in your eyes. For those of you that were in relationship with these people, they actually did pay you attention at a specific point in time. Some of you, they were attentive to you for a season, but God pulled them away when he separated to you. I know people that are going through this right now. They started their separation season. They experienced it. They enjoyed it. They went through this season. But certain things need to change, transition, transform. In them. In their heart. So, with that being said, now they talk all foul and slick. Every other word is you make me sick. When you started to walk with God, especially if y'all was with them and neither you were walking with God. You started walking with God, they start acting a fool, talking about you, talking all nasty towards you. Why? Because their heart wasn't walking with God yet. So, because they weren't walking with God yet, they talk foul and slick, and every other word was you make me say. Why? Because the God in you was offending the spirit in them until they came to God first. God was saving y'all, especially those of y'all that was waiting on somebody and God had showed you that person, and God was saying, no, you don't want them right now, because if you were with them right now, they'd be talking trash about you to your face, and that would hurt you more than anything, and I ain't gonna let that happen. So I'm gonna let them stay over there and let me prune them, press them, knead them, put them on the potter's wheel, and do what I got to need to do to them, because otherwise every other word gonna be that you make them sick because of how. Come on now. And in some cases, this is what the counterfeit's been doing to them, making them sick because they've been moving towards you. But that's here nor there. Anyway, back in the days, I was your number one pick. Now your heart's half broken and it's hard to fix. These men have hurt you, broke you down, and tore you down because your heart hadn't come to a place of healing at the time that you were with them in the first place. So you needed to come to healing so that they could come to healing. Once you came to healing, came to God and allowed yourself to heal, God started working on their heart so that they could start to heal. See how that works? And they know that they need to fix their wrongs for what they did during that time in that season. But for those of you that never met this individual, they know they need to fix their wrongs for what they did by not understanding that you weren't the problem in the first place, that they were in the middle of the problem and didn't realize it. They had to dig deep inside themselves because they can't see you leaving them for somebody else. In some cases, the Lord has allowed you to be in a state where it looks like you could potentially leave them, that He could make a choice, especially with all these daggone replacement words and people running around here talking about, you can get a replacement, you can get a replacement, you can get a replacement. I'm reminded of the story Derek Prince talked about when him and his wife met, and the fact that the church told him that they didn't want him to marry his wife, and she prayed. It looked like they weren't going to be able to get together, but they ended up meeting on Prayer Mountain and coming to agreement. They were just going to do it regardless, no matter what the officials thought they should or shouldn't do. So, yeah, they couldn't think of the idea. I've been seeing words from Trust and Obedience Ministries that you were reserved for them. Trust and Obedience talked about it. Lady Jeremiah talked about the fact that you have been reserved for them. They prayed to God, don't let her move on without me. Don't let her go any farther without me. God has reserved you. That's why I keep telling y'all, unless God told you go get a replacement, you operating in rebellion, operating in your own flesh. Go sit your butt back down, because that man is on his way to you, and what the enemy want is for you to get caught up in some other mess. Get your butt back where he told you to be. what's it? Next part is it's a long journey back to the place we was when I was too embarrassed to admit I was in love. One, it's been a long journey for them to get to you, for those of you that have not met. And for those of you that have, for them to get to a place in themselves that could handle being in relationship with you, they had to get back to that place. And they were too embarrassed, like most men, to admit they actually were in love with you in the first place. Because love to them was a newfound feeling that they'd never felt nor understood before. So they're in a phase of, wait, I don't get this. This is unusual. I don't know how to operate in this heart posture or head posture. And I'm embarrassed because I don't know what to say or how to say it. And you was my good girl that wouldn't give it up. You're the good one. You're the one that, if it came down to it and they came in and they weren't going to marry, they knew you were not going to give up the nookie, the cookie, that you weren't going to do it. And that's another reason what stalled them out. It's like, can I wait for that? Especially when anybody was saying, and I was just watching a video by Stephanie the other day. She was talking about the fact that it's like less than 24 hours ago. And she was talking about the fact that the enemy had been sending them distractions that were happily give it up to them. And some of them got caught up. Some of them did. They kept falling in that trap. But they had to choose to come out of the agreement with those kinds of activities. Because half of them was just sleeping with witches. And they couldn't let themselves self-destruct. Because not being with you and operating in those behaviors, it literally was a form of self-destruction. And I believe it says in Galatians or Ephesians 5, it talks about, would a man do harm to his own body? Come on now. When I think about the things, I skipped. Baby smile today, because I've been on that journey always. They didn't realize they were on a journey, but they came to the realization that they are on a journey to get to you. And this journey is going to cause them to love you better. The journey that they've been on is going to cause them to. When you were friends, I used to see you too. Just when you think there's nothing else I can do, I'ma love you better. They came to the realization that they were humbled, brought to themselves, brought to their knees before God, and came to the realization that they needed to love you better. Because in loving you better, it was a blessing from God. As they loved you and came in agreement with you, because as we know, that when a man comes into prayer alignment with a spouse, their prayers are answered. And this is something that's been on my head. Every time y'all prayed, I think that if you were in a form of consecration and that man chose not to listen to God when he told that man to consecrate at the same time you were consecrating, they got sick. It's something that's in my spirit, and it's the third time that happened to me. I think that when you were consecrating, as much as you were consecrating, they got sick every time they tried to come out of agreement with that consecration. Because I know sometimes when I would try to avoid consecrating, I get nauseous. Think about it. And that's just a side note. when I think about the things we did and I think about you having my kids, these men are thinking about having life with you. And for those of you that were in a relationship, the things you did when you were together before you were brought into separation. For those of you that haven't met them, the things that you were going to do or could have done, or the time they wasted in a time that they avoided and ran from you. I'm going to share this right here. The other day I was watching, let's make a deal. And I was going through the refrigerator to get something that morning for breakfast. And a guy came on and he was saying that he met his wife 10 years before he married her. But he was too embarrassed to admit how he felt. So he didn't tell her for 10 years. Some of you, that's the way the scenario has been. Some of you, you've known for a long time this man was your husband. You couldn't figure out why it was taking him so long to figure it out. It's not that he couldn't figure it out. It's the fact that he did figure it out. He was just running the whole daggone time. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to sleep with Mary, Sally, Sue, and whoever I want to sleep with, because I'm not ready to deal with. Because for you, it's not just taking you up. It's taking the assignment God has attached to you up. And he didn't want to do that. He was too busy out here like, I like my life. I like my lifestyle. I don't want to have to commit that part to God. And I don't want to have to give up this. But guess what? When it came down to it, he was going to have to give it up anyway. It was always that scenario. Either you do it, or I'm going to snatch it out from under your feet when it gets to the point that I can no longer wait for you to figure this out and come into agreement. The decision that needed to be made was them making the decision to do it without force. Meaning, if you calmly make this decision and come into agreement with it the way that you're supposed to come into agreement with it, we can make a smooth transition to where you're supposed to go. And I can break off all those things that have been taking so long. But when you don't, the opposite decision by choosing not to listen to God is that he's just going to snatch it out from under you, and it's going to look ugly, and it's going to be judgmental, and it's going to be nasty, and it's going to be just horrible. That was the decision. Do you want me to do this the nice way? Do you want me to do this the ugly way? Which way do you want it? That was the decision. Some of them delayed too long, and they ended up getting ugly way. That's where the distress came from. Okay? So, with that being said, picking up where I left off, losing all that. Some of these men have lost a bunch of things. There was a news report on the television the other week talking about 737, the airplane craft, and it was a specific model. The model name meant the 737 means just now, and the last part of the model name meant they lost something. So some of your spouses had to lose something in order to be able to, and it was part of themselves. It was part of something that could not go with them into the relationship with you. Yeah, they had the SLs, the begets, and rings. Instead, they walked around like they were a king. Yes, God had them in a kingly position, but God had to humble them. Romans 8:20. That he made them subject to their own vanity and allowed them that stuff to be torn down in order for the glory to come later on. Because they were filling their life with things instead of dealing with the issues that God was actually pulling on their heart, that was deep down issues, instead of filling those spaces with women and this and that and money and all these types of things. God was like, oh, you want to play games with me? I'm going to snatch all that stuff away from you, and then I'm going to still make you sit down and deal with that issue. You see what that? the way that works? Having you ain't nothing but a thing. Even stopped telling you the loving was good. Too busy fronting in the hood. For those of y'all that were with them, they were arrogant. And yeah, they were arrogant. I'm going to just put it that way. I'm not going to use the other word I was going to use. But you understand. So they were out there doing what they was doing, thinking they was playing games. And yeah, it wasn't working because their heart was with you the whole daggone time. But they were fronting because they didn't want to, remember how kids were, the little boys that they didn't want to tell you they was in love with you, but they beat you upside the head or push you down? Yeah, that's the way these men are. They still do that stuff. It's stupid. It's like, instead of telling you that they really cared about you, they go out in front. So I'm going to do it real gentle, baby. Well, you know. One more chance. Don't say no, because I got another side to show. Some of them have had a complete turnaround. I'm being reminded of Trust and Obedience Ministries, just the word she released a few months back called the Kingdom Chance. The Kingdom Spouse is asking for one last chance, I believe is what it's called. She's got on a black top and she's sitting against a white wall. So some say love is painful. It helps you grow. Well, it's time for the pain to go. They've come into agreement, acknowledgement that whatever pain that they have been suffering with, that they need to release it and let it go. That in letting this pain go, that they will be able to finally move forward. And that has been what has been holding them up. Not letting that pain go. Because God was, you know how God was when you were holding on to certain pains, he would let you sit there until you gave it up to him. Remember, Jesus. We talked about this in one of our previous words. Jesus, man of Bethesda. And that scripture keep coming up. So he just needed them to let go of the pain so that he could then allow them to show you the love they always were supposed to. The verse came back. Do you think I meant to hurt you? They're admitting the fact that they didn't mean to hurt you. They didn't mean to take so long. They didn't mean to operate in the spirits that they were operating in. No. They did not mean to hurt you. No. So let's laugh together, cry together. God willing, we gonna die together. Sounds like holy matrimony to me. Don't it? You think I meant to hurt you? Do you think I meant to hurt you? No. So let's laugh together, cry together, and God willing, we gonna die together. They coming to put on a ring. It's a brand new me, a brand new you, a brand new day. We in a new season, y'all. Sky so blue. Hold my hand while I walk with you. Sit on my lap and let me talk to you. They ready to spend time with you. They ready to express their feelings to you. And they need to be near to you. No more games calling you foul names. Not no more. Behind your back or to your face. Because some of them have been operating a mockery spirit and blasphemy towards you. And that's what they've been in judgment for. That you didn't know about because y'all hadn't met yet. I'm going to love you better. My mentality changed. There was another song I was listening to and it was talking about the fact that their mind changed. From this day forward, I'll never be the same because God changed their heart, turned their heart of stone into flesh and changed their mind. From this day forward, I'll never be the same. I'ma rub your back, share my dreams. I'ma love you. Let me show you what I mean. Give you the deepest love a girl's ever dreamed. the way these men are going. I've been watching Wisdom Speaks, and she been talking about this is gonna be a love that you've never experienced before